5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're broadcasting again. Sorry about that, Andrew. You gotta love technology.
No problem.
Thank you to everybody else who's been in there. Now, you were just saying you had a question in there about gold. Could you read that question? Could you read that question again and give us a response?
So Lizzie had asked, what about gold? And what I explained was that hopefully you can hear me now. Peter, I see Peter on. Peter, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So, okay, Lizzie says, okay, so we're back. So what I explained was that there are something called asset classes or asset groupings, we could call them. Stocks, bonds, property, commodities, and gold. Those are the general asset classes that we have in the financial world. And basically what I try to teach, and I taught my nieces, is you only have to worry about stocks and bonds. Don't worry about property, commodities, and gold. Here's the reason why. The first thing is property. Property is something that you're already going to own, a condo, a house, a piece of land. So you've already got property market exposure. Adding to that by trying to buy some asset class property market product or something like that, I don't think it's worth it. You don't get a lot of benefit from that. The second one is commodities. Commodities basically mean things like coal and oil and coffee and whatever it is that's traded around the world. And my answer to this is that, first of all, it's hard enough to try to predict the stock market, but the commodities market is very, very difficult. There's a lot of research showing that it's a huge failure rate in trying to get that. So if you're trying to play the commodities market, you have one other problem, and that is that the commodity market is very, let's say, it's not only is it difficult, but it's also expensive. It's expensive to buy, for people to buy and sell these things. So the cost compared to what you gain is very minimal. So I wouldn't be investing in commodities. Also remember that you are investing in commodities when you're investing in stocks, because for companies that are using some type of commodities like oil, when oil goes down, their profits are going to go up. And so you're going to get some gain. And some of the stocks that you're owning in your stock portfolio, when oil goes up, they are going to be oil companies that benefit from rising oil prices. So from commodities, so we talked about property, we talked about commodities. Now let's talk about gold. Gold is also what you could call a speculative investment, because this investment in gold, basically gold doesn't earn anything. If you have a business that's cranking along, the business is earning profit and that profit's growing every year. And in theory, that's providing you with income through dividends and the like. And what you'll find with gold is you'll never get income from gold that doesn't pay a dividend or interest. It's just a matter of playing the price. And my experience about the ability of most people to do that is very, very low. So I would not be spending much time focusing on gold. I would build up your portfolio in stocks and then add bonds as you get older.
Okay. So the next question then, moving off of gold, is supposing I'm 25 years old. How much do I need to start to invest, or how much do I need to start saving? Yeah,
this is probably the most important question that we have to try to answer. And on my own personal website, which anybody that's in the course, I'll give you all the access to all that. It's andrewstotz.com. But when you go into the course, you'll start to be able to go to the website and do the calculations. But it's a much more complex question than it appears. We have to take into consideration how long. So I'd have to ask a lot of questions. You'd have to answer them in the spreadsheet, and the answers are, the questions are, how old are you today? 25. When do you want to retire? Let's say 60. When do you think you'll live to? Let's say 90. The next question is, what do you expect in the return in the stock market? Well, I've told you that it should be about 8. What return do you expect in the bond market? Well, it's about 4% or so in the bond market that you should expect, maybe even lower, 3%. Then you got to look at what is inflation. Then after that, you got to look at questions like, how much money do I need to live on? And so all of these questions combined start to give us some answers to the question, but I'll cut to the simple answer. And that is, you probably at the age of 25 need to be socking aside and investing in the stock market about 20% of your income. If you could do 20% of your income and keep it up at that level, you could do 25, it'd be even better. It'd have an exponential benefit, because $1,000, let's say, or $10,000 put into the stock market today is about $60,000 in 30 years. So there's that exponential rise. So the more you can put in now, but a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm going to save 5% of my income, 3%. You're never going to get there at 25. You're saying 3 to 5% of your income. You've got to learn. And that's one of my points that I talk about, is learn to live way below your means so that you have that excess money to invest at that young age.
Right. So learn to live way below your means. And at a minimum, if you're 25, you should be looking at around 20% of whatever you make to be investing.
Yep.
Okay. That's I think that's very, very practical advice that people can take from there. We've got another question there. What do you think about Warren Buffett's rule number 1, never lose money?
Yeah, that's the one I answered when you went down. So I got that one.
Okay, so you already got that answered.
Yep.
Okay. Let me go in here. We got more questions going on. Okay, and as we're going there looking at the questions, by the way, let me just pull this up again. But Andrew has his course. Everything that you're hearing here is actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what Andrew has in his course that's just been launched today on Jcademy, usually selling for $100, now 80% off, so $19.99. Only for the webinar participants here, that's using the code webinar230415. Go into jcademy.com and you'll be able to get that 80% off to hear Andrew's full course on how to set yourself up for financial independence. Okay, and we're looking down here at questions here. Okay, here's a question for you. What if you're, supposing you're in Thailand or you're in China and you want to invest in other markets? How do you do that? Well,
one of the things that as I travel around the world, a lot of people, I ask them the same thing. And the question is, what markets do you invest in? And their answer is, well, when I'm in the Philippines, they say, well, I invest in the Philippines. And when I'm talking to someone in Thailand, they say, well, I invest in Thailand. And I talk to someone in China, and they say, well, I invest in China. And of course, I know that there's many more stock markets in the world than your home market. And because people want to pick stocks and they want to try to be focused like that, they end up really trying to focus on their own home market. But from my perspective, I would be looking at a diversified passive fund that owns stocks across the world. So the first principle of this is really, you should be looking beyond your market. I mean, a good example of this is the Philippines. Right now, the stock market in the Philippines is really expensive. Now, it may keep going up, but if someone in the Philippines was taking some of their money and putting it into a more diversified portfolio of other countries, they're going to protect themselves from an overall collapse. Now, to answer the question now, let's continue on. And the question basically is asking about, what do I do now if I want to invest outside my country? Well, the sad fact is that in most of the countries around the world, except for most developed countries, it's not very sophisticated. They don't provide you a lot of opportunities to invest outside of your home country. And this is one of the most difficult things about what I face as I try to explain my theories outside, in different countries. And that is that what you've got to do is you've got to probably go to a mutual fund company or a broker and see if you can buy foreign fund or foreign stocks. And usually with a fund management company, they may have an investment fund that invests outside of their country. So you'd have to look for global equity or emerging markets or something like that with some fund management houses in your home country. The drawback in most cases is that the fees are really, really high, just really high for that type of investment. So generally, it's really hard in an unsophisticated market to get that exposure. So I tell my friends in the Philippines, every time that you get on an airplane, take $9,999 of cash and set up a brokerage account and put your money in that in Hong Kong, let's say, and that brokerage account can invest around the world. And I'm actually not joking. You take the maximum amount of cash you could, set up an account in a developed country like Hong Kong or Singapore, and then you can actually buy these types of instruments like the VT fund.
Okay, and Andrew, because we went down there, I think we can take this out just for one last question, because I think this is a really valuable question for people, especially in countries like Australia. The great Australian dream, and you hear in the US, the great American dream, get the mortgage, buy the house, put everything you have into the house. Is that a good investment, investing in your house and investing in more mortgages? Is that a wise investment for young people who are looking, for the future, a long-term investment?
The first thing I would say is that for the majority of people, if I said no, they'd probably still do it because they have more than just financial attachment to a house. They have the security that beginning to own or eventually owning that house outright gives them. And so the first answer is it really depends on the individual. In my case, I'm 49 years old and I do not own a house. I rent. And my rental fee each month is about, let's say, $1,200. And the amount that I save from that, I'm able to invest is huge. And when something breaks down in my apartment, a very nice apartment, I just call and they come and fix it. So I've saved a lot of money. If you're in a high rent country or city, you may not have that opportunity. It may make sense to buy the house. But my general advice would be buy a house. Yeah, go ahead. Find a nice house that you like. And most important thing is you don't want to think about a house too much from financial terms. You want to think, do I want to live in this place for the rest of my life or for the next 20 years? And you want to buy a house that's substantially below your means. In other words, you could afford house A at $500,000, but you should try to buy house B at, let's say, 200 or 300,000, as long as you're happy in the house, and then use the rest of that money to keep investing. And also, when it comes to houses, most countries give and banks give preferential treatment to housing loans. So if you can borrow money at 3 or 4% to buy a house, then the house has to appreciate in value by, let's say, 5 or 6% to have been worth it over the long run. And I think that you can probably expect that you could get something like that. So if you combine the kind of intrinsic value that you feel from owning your own home, and maybe the safety that a 60, 70, 80-year-old feels that they don't have to pay payments anymore, I'd say buy it, but just keep focused on not overstretching yourself so that you have more money that you keep investing in the stock market.
Wow, I'm sure that's going to be very interesting advice to people. So you heard it there. Financial specialist Andrew Stotz rents a house. He doesn't own a house there, but he takes that money because of the low rent and invests it in other things. That's amazing. Well, Andrew, I've got to say we're going to wrap it up now. But this is I have learned a lot from it. So thank you very much. And hopefully we're going to get many more of these amazing people with knowledge, experts in their field in our Jcademy Meet the Author segment. Now, remember, you can see up there, you should be able to see on the side of your screen, you've got the 12 Steps to Financial Independence webinar special only for the people in here. You can get Andrew's course. So he just touched the tip of the iceberg on these what's in the course today, and you can get this $100 course for $20. That's 80% off by putting webinar 230415. It says 35% there on the screen. It's 80% off. So if you're going to get for $20 if you put that in, now. So thank you very much, Andrew. And I'm sure we'll have you back because you've got so many more courses and different things that you're going to be sharing and putting up on Jcademy. Any final words, Andrew?
So I think I just want to say that when you come into the course, we can keep these questions going. I love to get them, and I love to go back and forth on them. So once you become a student in the course, you're always my student, and we'll be going back and forth and trying to keep learning. So I look forward to seeing you in there.
Thank you. And on Jcademy's behalf, we're constantly innovating and improving so that they'll become actually more and more interactive, more and more engaging. We love working with people like you, Andrew, and other people, great course authors all over the planet. And so once again, thank you. I'm Stuart J. Raj, and this was Jcademy's first Meet the Authors free webinar. We'll be having many more of these. You can come back and watch it at Jcademy. And stay tuned for our next Meet the Authors webinar. I'm Stuart J. Raj. Thank you very much and good night.